Well, good morning, it's Rach here, an award-winning awards writer with the awards people, and I've got on the sofa of success with me today a gentleman that I have been after for quite a while. Sorry, Mrs. P. This is Les Phillimore, a man with many talents and many fingers and many business pies. So before I stuff it up, Les, I'm going to ask you to introduce to my mum who you are and what you do.
Hello, Rachel's mum. So I'm Les Phillimore. Locally, I'm probably best known for our small business consultancy, which is Sententia. But I'm also managing director of a early stage business called The Directory, which is all things related to senior executive technical professionals who may happen to be over 45-50 years of age, who are perhaps disengaged from the workplace.
Wow. And how did this come about, Les? Where's the driving passion for the Directory? Because I know it's something that you are very, very passionate about.
It kind of evolved out of my own experience. So I am an ex-FTSE 100 exec manager. I am qualified academically. And in 2009, I was made redundant, ultimately from a very large US-owned business. Depths of the recession, and I just couldn't find work. So I did what we all do. We set ourselves up as business advisors, business consultants. But what became very, very evident was that there were a lot of people like me. And not only were there a lot of people like me, they were all following the same journey, the same experiences, fighting the same challenges. But also had huge economic capital and resource and skills and competencies and knowledge and that was just not being used. So you start looking around and you feel the behaviour and what's going on out there, and you actually come to a very clear conclusion that there is some very significant misconceptions in the world of recruitment. Hence why we set up the Directory with some colleagues, as you know. And we have a broad spectrum. So the youngest when he joined us is Matt. He is a recruiter. So he sees recruitment from the inside, so he understands that behaviour. And then you've got the old git on the end who's actually lived it. So you bring a very, very knowledgeable group together with the skills, and bless them, they're all prepared to work pro bono on the project. And actually you start to learn there is a significant opportunity out there, and that we want to take on head on.
Wow. I appreciate it's a huge question and there's no one single answer. I'm going to ask the question anyway. Why, as businesses, are we not capturing this knowledge and wealth from people who are 45, 50 plus?
Okay.
What is it? Why?
I think there's two or three principles out there. One is there is a complete misunderstanding or misconception as to what my generation, the generation just above me, and the generation just beneath me actually understand about technology. You know, I always look at the world in a very simple way. Google is 20 years old this year.
Wow.
That is it. It is 20 years old today. So actually, what was the age group that brought Google to life? I'm sorry, it wasn't the current millennials. It was actually my generation that brought Google in. My eldest, Kieran, who you know, Kieran is 29. Now there's a really important thing about Kieran and when he was born. He's 53 days younger than the internet. Kieran's 29. So, you know, for Mum and I and our friends and colleagues, we have a very visual presence. Everything post Kieran is internet, and everything pre Kieran is non-internet. But it comes back to that basic question: who introduced it? Who brought that, started bringing that digital technology to life? You will know, Rachel, my background is gaming and leisure and entertainment. We were downloading digital music in the 1980s. It's not new. We actually did it. The US outfit I used to work for, we held and probably still hold the largest digital music library in the world. it's not new. A lot of this is not new. And I think there is just a misconception out there that my generation, the one ahead of me and the one just behind me, do not understand technology. We do understand technology. No, we're not software writers. No, we're not coding professionals. No, we're not SEO experts. But what we do know is how you put the pieces of the jigsaw together to create larger and sustainable businesses.
Wow. So you said that that's one issue. Are there other issues that...
Yeah, absolutely. I think what society has not kept up with, and it's very generic, and as you know, I'm also a counsellor, the district counsellor in the odds bit of spare time. There is a misconception and misrepresentation. So, and I always use the analogy. If I looked at my dad at my age, you know, he started work at 15, he worked until he retired, and at my age, my dad, I can see him sat on the sofa with a pooch on his lap. He was knackered. He was a dead person. That is not the same today.
No.
You know, and that's to do with lifestyle, it's to do with environment, it's to do with the period that you were born, it's to do with health, ambition, opportunity. You know, there's so many different, you know, my dad was the quintessential, started work at 15, worked for the same company principally all the way through his life, retired at 65 and died 18 months later. That, you know, unfortunately still happens occasionally, but the way we live our lives now, our health, our whole attitude to business and energy and focus, and you know, I'm dare I say it, I was 60 yesterday. Happy birthday to me. You know, I'm still on this direction. You know, I'm still pushing hard. There is so much I want to achieve. There is so much that should be achieved. And my age group and this disengaged group have the skills to build those sustainable larger businesses. Now, interestingly, a couple of days ago, I was on what was meant to be an hour's telephone conversation, wound up with 3 hours with one of the researchers from, it's called the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor,
Wow.
okay, GEM, and they've spotted some very clear entrepreneurial behaviour in the over 50s, as in we're setting up more and more businesses than actually the younger generation. There's some questions about opportunity and that they take in less opportunity, but I think there's very good reasons for that, based on both knowledge, wisdom and experience, but also the ability to take risk at 55 is very, very different as the ability to take risk at 25. So there's a very different risk profiling. But they spotted this entrepreneurial behaviour. You know, I'm also closely associated with the Federation of Small Businesses. They've also had a report out recently about the over 50s setting up more new businesses. And not only do they set up more new businesses, and this bit's really important, they're setting up larger new businesses.
Ooh.
And that inherently suggests that they're using their knowledge and their skills and experience of how you put the jigsaw together and what those key functions and bits of expertise you need to create larger, more sustainable businesses. So the argument will always be, if you start to re-attract those senior skills, those more experienced skills, actually these guys and girls, they're going to help you build bigger and more sustainable businesses. No question about that. That's what we do. That's what we've always done. But yeah, once we were 25. But actually, we've now got a wealth of knowledge and experience. And I come back to the technology issue. We actually do understand technology.
Well, no, I'm with you there. I mean, as you just mentioned, you're very attached to the Federation of Small Businesses. As you know, I have had a lot to do with the Institute of Directors and have commented on this issue over 20 odd years now. I used to run a much bigger business before, before life changed. And one of my senior managers was 21 years older than me. He for sure had more knowledge about technology than he'd forgotten more than I'll ever know, partly because I'm interested to as much as that and no more. But also, as you say, he was there as it was all emerging, so his inherent knowledge was just so much more advanced than me. And for me, when I set up my business, I was 28. As I say, he was 21 years older than me. What I learnt from him was the been there, done it, but don't do it that way, Rach. Let's stop and reframe and think here. Some of the blind alleys that we didn't go down because of his knowledge was huge. And I never felt that I was less of a person because of it, because I brought other skills to it. I didn't feel threatened because of his age. I was really chuffed that we'd managed to attract somebody of his calibre into the business who was going to help us grow and grow fast, and we did.
That's great, because there is more and more narrative out there about why businesses should recruit from the older, however they term it nowadays. I've lost track.
Well, it's not old. I'm 45 now. Yeah. I don't consider myself as old.
And there lies the problem. You say, I turned 60 yesterday. I absolutely have no concept of being 60. And indeed, Sunday, my eldest works in a digital and community in London. And they are using AI for a lot of things, but they're having some challenges here and there. And the principle is, actually, you've got to come back to the real basics of what the scope of the project was, what does the client actually want, what can you deliver, and how advanced is your AI in order to deliver that. At 60, I'm not meant to understand all this. I'm sorry, I do. I come from an industry that was technology led, and by default, we were always at the cutting edge of technology. And pure irony, I was on one of the Chamber's digital training programs a couple of months ago, and it was about embracing virtual reality. And there was an intro going around the Rudy Armstrong, so on, so on, so on. And because of my background, I was, I'm slightly cheeky here and there.
Slightly.
I just wanted, I'm Les, I'm diddly, and I'm glad everybody else has caught up with us, because virtual reality today is actually its third iteration. We were playing with virtual reality in the 1980s.
I remember it being talked about on Tomorrow's World, and how long ago has that been?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as I say, there are a lot of misconceptions out there, and some of them I understand. But the reality is, I'm not my father. We are a completely different generation. And you can start looking around the world, you can start looking at the country and look at the evidence and the statistics. The average age of a FTSE 100 CEO board is 50 something. The average age of the FTSE 100 board in its entirety, again, is 50 something. It drops a little bit in the FTSE 250. It's 49 something. So there has to be some, illogic being applied when we have the major financial institutions and our very largest businesses actually saying, we want that experience and that wisdom around our board table. We are playing with multi-billion-pound businesses. And then another side of business, and I refer back to my activities with the Federation, is there is a national call on two levels. One is saying we're bringing the young kids into business without the right skills, without employability levels. But simultaneously, they're also saying, and we're desperately short of senior leadership management skills. Duh. So why disengage the people who have got those skills? It is just illogical. So misconceptions, an illogic approach to recruitment, and just misunderstanding of what this generation actually bring. And it's not just me.
No.
I'll throw one in. A guy I'm talking to at the moment, his name is Andrew. He is ex-head of global PR and media for a very, very, very well-known media company. He's just come back from Asia, where he's been working for many years. He cannot get a job. He can't even get an interview. He is currently driving a delivery van. Now, if we as a business community and economic society, as GB UK Limited, think that is the best economic use of that gentleman's resource and knowledge capital, we're barking up the wrong tree.
Wow. Now, having listened to Les talking so passionately, you can understand probably why I got interested and said, and you've already said that the directory, it's very early startup.
Correct.
But we decided to put you into the Institute of Directors Director of the
We
Year
did.
Awards.
Okay.
And we were kind of going, is this a push too far? Because we are very early. And there is, in a lot of businesses' minds, well, I'll enter when our turnover is X, or our customer client base is Y, or our headcount is... If you've got the right story, as this story will prove, if you've got the right story and the right evidence, you don't have to wait. You can actually go in early. And you guys did.
We did.
And came out highly commended in your category.
Regional finalists pre-market.
Yeah, which was huge.
Nobody even knew we existed. What had appealed to the IOD, and I remember the interview with Ron and Steve and was they got it. They absolutely got what that mission was about. So I think, awards, rewards, success measures, they come in multiple different layers and different. For my team and myself, the very fact that we had been shortlisted and we actually hadn't made a single stakeholder client phone call was extraordinary. They just saw what the business was about.
Clarity of message, clarity of purpose, understanding, bringing that wisdom from around your boardroom table and putting that into the award entry and encapsulating it.
Can I add something in there, Rach? Because you actually subtly hit on a really, really important point.
Oh my goodness, that was lucky.
So I'm a great believer that measure of success comes in a multitude. So even as the directorate, we are national partners with the DWP. And that is extraordinary for a new startup business, extraordinary. But it does say our targeting was absolutely on the nail. The really interesting thing about entering awards is it forces you, as you're creating your application, to forensically, and I mean forensically,
absolutely,
analyse, are we as good as we think we are? Are we on the right mission? Are we, do we have that competitive advantage? Will the people reading this application actually understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, what our end game is, and what provision or service or product or we're actually trying to achieve. So you don't actually have to be a trading business, as we've just proven, but it is that forensic analysis that you, as the business people, the business owner, have to go through to examine your business forensically. But I think the other side of it, and it really is where you guys sit as the awards people, is when I get up in the morning, when you get up in the morning, when anybody gets up in the morning, the person we see in the mirror is the person we've known all our life. And, we should, as business people, believe in our skills and our competencies and expertise. But actually, having an external person equally forensically analyse what you are saying is worth an incalculable amount. And I'll just drop this one in. I won't name the person, but they did win, and I think it was Family Business of the Year a couple of years ago. You know the people. I used to do some work with those people with my business advisory hat on, and the guy, young guy, who sit next to me, wanted to come in as young IOD Director of the Year. So he had written his application and asked me if I'd go through it. But I, of course, am looking at that person from a completely different perspective. And actually, there was a lot in there because as British people, we are ridiculously conservative. We're not very good at blowing our own trumpet. Present company accepted. Sorry. We're just not. We tend to, and I see it on a lot of the CVs on the directory, people downplay
Hugely.
their own skills, their own competencies, their own achievements. It's kind of a genetic, cultural thing. So actually having an independent person equally forensically analyse what it is you're seeing. Actually, I see a different person to the person he wrote about. So actually, diddly-dee. And I think the year after I worked with them on that particular episode, he did actually win as, I think it was Family Business of the Year.
Brilliant.
So having that independent assessment of your application, guys, be proud of what you've done.
No, absolutely. And if any of you listening to this can either assist Les in his
Absolutely.
mission or work with the directory in terms of utilising its skills, resources and connections, then this is something that's not going to go away. This is only something, we live in an ageing population. This is not going to go away. What are we losing by being disengaged from these folks? You know, come on, businesses, let's make use of these brilliant skills and talents, and let's keep shouting about it as well.
Can I do an unashamed plug?
Yeah, do your unashamed
Okay,
plug.
but it's not a shamed plug for me. It's actually for the people we want to help and support. So the directory is deemed to be an open door company, and that principally says if you've got the skills and the background and the experience to help us deliver this mission, then that door is open. And one of the challenges this generation or people do suffer from, and it applies to all generations, is if you've got a 3-month work gap on your CV, the likelihood is the recruiter's just up. At senior level, you can just about get away with the 6-monther. After 6 months, you're in this pile, you're not in this pile. So what we are very keen to do, and Andrew, ex-PR media guy, is a perfect example, is he has a massive work gap. But actually, he can work with us. We'll give him a business card, we'll give him a title, PR media guy, we'll give him some things that we need him to do. We can't pay him. Hey guys, we funded this ourselves, this is being bootstrapped. We can bring his CV back to life. And if we can do that with him, and we can do that with PAs, and if we can do that with procurement people, if we can do that with operations directors, I'm going to be a very happy boy.
Well done, well said. Well, Les's details are coming up at the end of this video. Don't be shy. He's quite happy to have a chat, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Quite happy to
Give me
have a
a call.
chat. Chuck him a coffee, he's even happier to chat.
Omelette and chips at Cafe 19 is really good. Subtle plug for Cafe 19 in Sileby.
Oh, brilliant.
It's really
Kirsty
cool.
is amazing. Yes, you, me, Cafe 19.
Absolutely.
Oh, I've lost my track of thought. We've got to do the 3 questions, the 3 hot questions.
Okay.
This is where we dumb down hugely now. So you've got to imagine that you're at
This is me.
at an awards ceremony, MC's on the stage, and they say, and the winner is Les. Bear
Yeah.
hug or high five?
Group up with my team.
Do you go up on the stage yourself or do you take the team?
Team.
I'm at the bar. Les, what are you drinking? Champagne or Prosecco?
Bad question, because Les is principally teetotal.
I had the same problem.
Now, guys, I can drink. I just don't go anywhere near alcohol when I'm anywhere near a car. And I spend a lot of my time in a car. That goes back to part of my history and career. Ice cold Coke with ice would be delicious. Thank you very much.
Oh, marvellous. Les, thank you so much for joining
Absolute
us
pleasure.
on the Sofa of Success. Come and update us on the story soon. Until then, Les's details are coming up. We'll see you next week. Until then, it's Rach checking out.